Recently on my channel there was a video on a similar topic, and after watching, you guys wrote a lot of comments with the suggestion to do the opposite. Take a new world of Minecraft on the latest version, and each time go to older versions, to see how the world would change and would it even be possible to load without problems. Thank you for the idea, I can't wait to see how it turns out. No time to waste, let's go. At the time of making this video, the most stable version was 1.21. We launched the world, loaded it, and flew around a bit in creative mode to generate chunks. I also decided to load the chunks where the trial chambers are, to see what happens to them later on the previous version. All in all, there's nothing more to do here, we can safely move on. Version 1.20, known as Trails and Tales, came out recently and it seems like we shouldn't face any special problems here. That's pretty much how it turned out. In the Worlds tab, the game warns that the world was created in a new version, so there may be problems, and upon entering the world, Minecraft offers to make a backup, which will be repeated almost every time. So I'll skip this step in the future. After entering, the world was exactly the same as before, the beautiful cave was still there, and all the elements were intact. However, the main thing that interested me was the trial chambers. There was a noticeable metamorphosis here. All the tough blocks disappeared and were replaced by the so-called air blocks. Earlier, this place was provided by the game as an area where hostile mobs could not spawn regardless of the light level. Now this rule doesn't work anymore and monsters wander here without any problems. It looks quite funny and at times unusual. Feels like someone just forgot to finish its construction. Version of Minecraft 1.19 gave us a lot of new things, but especially interesting were Ancient City and mangrove swamps. Going into the world of Minecraft in this version, I encountered some visual bugs, and the amount of frames noticeably decreased, although in the usual previously created world such problems were not observed. The generation of the world remained unchanged, everything remained in its place. Not far from my spawn, I found a taiga village where everything was calm. Villagers were walking around and enjoying life. I also found the Ancient City and the mangrove swamps, so I can check how they will change in the next version. Version 1.18 was one of the most important versions for the world of Minecraft. In this version, there is a new generation of mountains and caves. I don't know if this is due to the fact that we are porting the world to an older version, but the world started to lag even more. You can forget about the stable 60 frames per second completely, FPS jumps from 50 to 20 frames. I also started to have problems with the generation. In my case, the generation of the mountain was cut. The dripstone caves were outside, and the village was split into small flying islands. The thing I liked the most was the mangrove swamps. Obviously, the trees had been destroyed, the leaves were gone, but the vines were still there. They hung in the air, creating a mass of pixels and small outlines of the forest. Below there was a void instead of dirt blocks, and occasionally a moss carpet could be found. The ancient city didn't disappear, of course, it remained in place, only the sculk blocks were missing. In this version they were gone, only the sculk sensors remained. Without those blocks, the place looked extremely strange and as if it wasn't as mysterious. Of course, for the sake of further research, I loaded a beautiful snowy mountain near which a wonderful village was generated. The version of Minecraft 1.17 turned out to be quite controversial, all because of the splitting of the update Caves and Cliffs into two parts. In the first part there were new blocks, and in the second, world generation. What happened to our world? A lot of things have changed. First of all, the underground became empty. The cave generation disappeared as if it never existed. The place of my first spawn also changed. The dark forest became smaller, old mountains appeared nearby, and the wonderful mossy cave remained only in my memories. The ocean surrounding me was also gone, a small village had appeared instead, and the taiga and the taiga village were now replaced by a desert. Trial chambers disappeared, and the ancient city, which was generated below bedrock level, cannot be found at all. The mangrove swamp had turned into a small island, but the mobs remain and have fallen into the water, mostly creepers and witches. The flying village is gone, even the blocks are gone, but some villagers and golem have fallen to the ground. The beautiful mountain also disappeared, nothing left of it but mobs that fell into the water. I was expecting it to be like trial chambers and there would be at least blocks left, but everything disappeared. The only thing to check out from this version is Geode. The version of Minecraft 1.16 was a game changer. Its Nether update. Many players are calling it the best update in the last few years. It makes sense that the main focus was on Nether. The world loading took quite a long time, about 40 seconds, which is significantly longer compared to previous versions, 10-15 seconds. The first thing to note is that in this version, FPS have become consistently above 60 frames, which cannot be but joyful. Predictably, but instead of a geode, a small cave was formed. The village, which appeared in the last version, version remained in place, except that the path blocks disappeared. It feels like one of the players filibustered all the blocks and went about their business. It looks a bit strange. The world also had small islands with trees in different biomes, which is not standard generation. It looks like Minecraft's attempt to hide the uneven seams of connecting biomes, but the main thing about this version is Nether. I created a portal, loaded the terrain, found a fortress, and most importantly, a bastion. Let's see what we find in its place. The version of Minecraft 1.15 was a minor version. Now such a version we could call drop. The main innovation was bees. Basically this version was entirely focused on optimization and bug fixes. It's changed again this time around, though I'm not even sure why. My big dark forest turned into a small snip. It was extremely small, and near it, by some kind of miracle, Mesa was generated. Why did this happen? I have no idea. That village where the path blocks were stolen also disappeared. Some visual bugs started appearing all over the world, dark terrain, as if it was blocked. After I broke the block there, it got brighter, but it was still dark, like it was in a closed room. Only torches helped. It's very strange. What about Nether? My portal was missing, so I created a new one. Another oddity is that after teleporting, I appeared simply in midair, and no new Nether portal was generated. Overall, it looked pretty normal, nothing new. As soon as I flew up to the fortress, Minecraft just crashed. Second and third time, same thing. It was weird. There were no problems with the bastion, by the way. It was relatively empty, but the constant game crashes were a bit stressful. Version 1.14 is remembered by many for its new villagers, villages, and pillagers. While it brought some interesting changes, it also destroyed a lot of the game's mechanics. Because I forgot to go back to the overworld in the last version, I was left in Nether when I loaded up. While in version 1.15 Minecraft would crash only near the fortress, in 1.14 the game would instantly crash anywhere in the Nether, and this was repeated several times. Everything was fine in the overworld, except that the portal to Nether was gone again, and all the black areas disappeared. Version 1.13 is one of my all-time favorites. The sea theme has always been close to me despite my fear of the deep sea. However, this version turned out to be one of the worst in terms of world loading. FPS constantly dropped to 20 frames, the world slowed down and lagged, and the game often crashed. If before it happened only in the Nether, now it happened in the overworld as well. After starting Minecraft, the game would just crash after a short while. New villages disappeared and old ones appeared in their place, along with the usual villagers. I tried to explore the sea and structures, but the game kept crashing and the launcher stopped responding, and had to be shut down via Task Manager. Version 1.12 is probably one of the most stable versions. It's still played by many people, and importantly, people still create new mods for this version. If we compare it to version 1.13 in terms of optimization, I would say that everything is at the same level, 50-50. In the aquatic update, we saw the FPS drops and hard lags, but here everything was fine with FPS, but loading of the world left much to be desired. Chunks took extremely long to load, and these were not new chunks, but existing ones. This may be due to the fact that they were somehow converted to right now, but I'm not sure. The entire sea world was replaced with the old one, and there were no level drops or other changes left, as if the new sea generation never happened. Thankfully, the game didn't crash this time, everything was fine. Version 1.11 was not the biggest, but it had some important innovations. Woodland Mansion, Totem of Undying, the first villagers, and even Shulker Box. This time, however, there were serious problems with loading chunks. The problem wasn't the loading speed, it was that the chunks were just disappearing. They wouldn't show up, and I thought they were just taking a long time to load, but it turned out that in these empty zones you could interact with the world normally, put blocks, move around, as if someone had dug up everything, including bedrock. It looked very strange, so I decided to load the place where the Woodland Mansion was and switch to the old version. Version 1.10 was, shall we say, a minor update. In other words, a drop. I think most players didn't even remember its official name. The update was pretty small: Stray, Husk, Polar Bear, and Fossil. It was a big surprise to me that the Woodland Mansion stayed in place and didn't disappear like many other previous structures, but part of it did disappear. And it was part of the mansion specifically, not the entire chunk it was in. It was weird, and I honestly don't understand why it happened. Overall, everything was fine, except for the same empty spots where there were no blocks. This made me uneasy because they were not coming back. Version 1.9 received mixed reviews. Some players liked it, but the new combat system proved controversial for many. Nevertheless, this version brought a new end dimension to the game. I didn't find anything unusual in this world. The empty terrain remained unchanged, the world started to load a little faster, but some chunks still loaded with delays. I was pleased with the small small desert well that appeared in the ultra small desert. What surprised me the most was the end dimension. When I loaded it for the first time, to my great surprise, there was no dragon there, or even a bedrock portal. It was weird, but I found the end city anyway. We'll see what happens to it in the previous version. Version 1.8 gave us the ocean monument. The expected changes took place in the end dimension, the city disappeared, only purple glass and banners remained of it. The rest of the world remained without significant change. Just in case, I loaded the terrain where the monument was. Version 1.7, to my great regret, just didn't want to open my world. The game just crashed when loading chunks. I tried editing the world file, deleted nether and end, but it didn't help me, so I just decided to skip it. Version 1.6 gave us the opportunity to ride horses through the vastness of Minecraft. Fortunately, the world from version 1.8 successfully loaded and didn't crash, which pleased me especially. In the place where there used to be a monument, there were strange chunks of dirt, on top of which formed village houses. When I returned to my spawn, the dark forest was gone, leaving only a large and red mushrooms. Also, flat square pits appeared, as if someone had dug a whole chunk. The world as a whole changed dramatically and became a bit jagged. The old taiga village remained in place, but the path blocks were gone again. Where there used to be empty terrain, new chunks never appeared, but by some miracle, an abandoned mine was generated. In End Dimension, the dragon never appeared, and the number of obsidian pillars was greatly reduced. Version 1.5 brought a hefty change. After all, it's a redstone update. However, launching this version proved to be problematic. The game simply wouldn't start. But when I managed to launch it, I was shocked. The maze had disappeared. The giant biome was vaporized and only dead bushes remained in its place, reminding me of the burned desert. Level pits appeared in some places, and in others, water levitated. The empty terrain remained empty, but I still haven't given up hope. Version 1.4 is the version players associate with Wither. It was in this version that the last boss in the game appeared. After loading the world, the first thing I saw was a tree that magically grew right next to me. The dark forest was replaced by trees and strange square patches that disappeared over time. The empty chunks were still empty, except for some blocks that behaved strangely. For example, sand didn't fall despite other falling blocks. The village was completely empty, the villagers had disappeared, and some of their crops were gone too. Even the water had turned ice cold in some places. Version 1.0 was legendary, becoming the first official release version after the beta. It was the second part of the adventure update, and it was really big. I skipped some versions as there was nothing significant in terms of generation. This time around, my world was completely changed, and you can consider it a completely different world. My spawn near the mountains and dark forest turned into an ocean, and old village disappeared, and a new one, very small village, appeared not far away. But despite all the changes, my hope was justified. Empty chunks also disappeared and mountains appeared in their place. I consider that a victory. The oldest version I was able to run the world on is Beta 1.6. The older versions have a different type of world, which unfortunately cannot be converted from the new version to the old one. This is unfortunate. The world has changed again beyond recognition. Instead of an ocean, my spawn was in a small desert, although there's water nearby with a level drop. Otherwise, I didn't notice any significant problems with the world generation. As it turns out, it works not only one way, but also in reverse. I was really interested to see what would happen and how the game's world would behave. The new versions performed beautifully. I was pleasantly surprised when a new village was seamlessly replaced by an old one. I was particularly impressed with how some structures just disappeared without leaving their blocks behind. All in all, leave your comments down below and let me know how you like these experiments. What other experiments should I do? While you're waiting for new videos, I recommend you watch these. They're also very interesting. Subscribe to the channel, put your likes, and click on the bell. See you in the next one as we continue to discover Minecraft in new ways.